Welcome to the Sisterhood Collective podcast, where we empower women to break barriers, overcome limiting beliefs, and achieve true success. I'm your host, Laurie Lauren, entrepreneur and founder of 5 successful businesses. Join me as I share proven strategies, interview inspirational leaders, and provide behind-the-scenes insights to help you level up in your business, career, and in life. Because together, we can get further faster. Okay, let's dive in. Guilt. It's this heavy burden that we all carry, and it's this invisible anchor, and it completely weighs down your spirits. You know, when we feel this guilt, it tells us that we are self-doubting ourselves. Potentially we're feeling shame. Potentially we're inadequate. And what it does is it throws us off our journey towards success or towards happiness or even chasing our goals. And guilt is nothing other than a self-imposed barrier. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about not only guilt, but also some of the other self-imposed barriers that stand between us and being our authentic self that is, ready to chase greatness, whatever that looks like for you. Often the guilt that we feel, or the anxiety that we feel, even the depression that we feel, it's not what other people feel. It's only felt by us. And that burden and that feeling, we carry this alone, but it has the power to hold us back from living to our, fullest potential. I mean, you think about the last time you may have felt anxious or depressed. What did it prevent you from doing? But I don't really think it needs to dictate our choices, and I don't want it to dictate our choices. I don't want it to drive us and prevent us from doing anything. And I don't want us to slow down and fit into somebody else's mold. Last week I talked about, writing your own story. So we have to move past these barriers. If it's slowing us down, we have to break free. And we're the only ones imposing these barriers generally. Sometimes certain situations can feel, and I think of it like this boulder strapped to your back, and it just I can also think of it about the extremely heavy army pack that I used to wear, but it weighs you down and you're climbing up this mountain. And I remember this literally with the pack on my back. It's nighttime, it's raining, I've got 50 kilos on my back. I wasn't even 50 kilos. And I'm taking a step forward, trying to get to the top of the mountain. What was the goal? The goal was just to get to the top, probably over the top, and eventually to sleep. But when you have all these burdens and you have this big boulder strapped to your back, it weighs you down with every single step towards your goal. It saps your energy, it drains the motivation. And now I don't know if you've ever woken up in the morning and you felt cloudy or completely deflated or just flat, even just flat sometimes. What it does is it clouds your vision of what's possible. And this is so huge. I speak to so many people on a daily basis. And in fact, I've even felt it myself more recently, where I've had so much going on, too much probably going on, that it's clouded the vision of the future, or even to be able to make simple and good decisions. And the more that we struggle under that weight, you can't, like I just said, you can't see the future. You can't see your dreams. They slip further and further out of your reach, or so you think. And I think the first thing is actually recognizing that you're in this position. I remember when I was planning this big trip, basically I was going to go around the world, but my first stop was in the US because I wanted to see a friend who I was kind of keen on at the time. And I didn't have plans to stay there too long or anything, but I also just didn't have plans. I was pretty free. But I was going to Europe next. I knew that. And the reason was because I had this job semi-lined up, but I had a vision of what I wanted to do. And I was really excited about this new industry that I was going to go into, and then also potentially living in Europe. So all of that kind of excited me. But what happened was, while I was there, I suddenly found myself in a controlling relationship. And every time I talked about doing something for myself, like joining the gym, even when I wanted to buy a mobile phone so I could communicate with my new friends and or back home, or even if I wanted to go interstate to catch up with my friends, he would always make me feel so guilty that I was leaving him or that I was just using him. Eventually, over time, that got me so depressed and so down. And I have a pretty strong personality. I'm, a pretty strong person. I like to say what's on my mind and I can hold my own. But I had completely lost myself. And he just manipulated me and put me down so far and so deep that my personality and my authentic self was completely lost. It disappeared. And so, with that in mind, so did my dreams. My lust for life was all put on hold. Now, there's a lot more to that story, and it wasn't a fabulous time of my life, but long story short, and thankfully due to, a friend coming over to save me, some visa issues, I managed to leave. And I ended up coming back to Australia. After a bit of time, I found the strength and motivation to chase my dreams again. I found myself. But I didn't recognize the impact of the guilt that he was putting on me. A friend of mine did, hence why she came over. But it's recognizing the impact of that guilt. It's the first step towards liberation. And when I got home, that's when I recognized all of that. It completely stifles our growth and it holds and controls your life. Now, I don't want that for anybody, and I most certainly didn't want it for myself. So let's talk a little bit about self-imposed barriers, because one thing I'm seeing a lot lately, and I've experienced this myself many, many times, and it's probably the most common self-imposed barrier, which is the fear of failure. And I can put my hand on my heart and say I've definitely felt like this every time I've started a new business. I've had this thought. For me, the feeling can still be there even today, but I am better or starting to be better at handling it, because I know that it's okay to fail, because I have failed. So if you fail, so what? I also know that it's within me. I have to give it a go, and I have to give it a good go. So I'm okay with taking risk now. I'm okay with trying new things because I want to pursue my goals and I want to give it my full commitment. And I've done this when I set up my very first gym. I can tell you, I most certainly stepped outside of my domain when I started a coffee shop. I didn't know anything about coffee either. And I certainly did it when I started the Sisterhood Collective and even this podcast. Talk about getting outside your comfort zone and just making stuff up and talking to people and hope that people can, one, listen to you and align with what you're doing and what your message is. And guess what? It's all okay. And I'm still learning, I'm still failing, and I'm still okay. And no doubt you've got a similar experience, I'd imagine. The other one I find is quite common and probably more prevalent for me is the fear of judgment. And I don't know what it is. I'm not sure why we care so much about what other people think or say about us. But to be honest, they're going to say it anyway, aren't they? And I also think in this digital era that we're living in, it's so easy for people to get more exposure. And let's face it, we share our whole lives on media, what we're doing, what we ate for breakfast, our thoughts, our feelings. And of course, there's people out there that just can't help themselves to put someone else down to make themselves feel better, or they're bored, or they're not in a good place. And I also feel like even people we know that maybe are in even your friendship circle or a family member, they get a little bit scared when they see that you're growing without them. So if you're not starting something today because you're worried about what other people think, because maybe what you want to do is unconventional or just that little bit risky and it goes against what family perceive as suitable risk, I say go for it. Let people judge you because they are going to do it anyway, due to their own projections, due to their own insecurities, opinions, or whatever. But please don't let it hold you back or slow you down. So the question really is, how do we get past these barriers? And I'm just sitting here trying to think, all the things that I've done that have helped me overcome these moments of uncertainty and fear and being uncomfortable. And I think the biggest one for me that has really been my driver is being extremely clear on why I'm wanting to put myself through that, nerve-wracking or, position in the first place. My why has to be more important, more exciting, and I have to realize the outcome. That outcome has to be better versus me not doing this at all and not putting myself through this. I've learned that I have to put myself in these uncomfortable situations and be vulnerable. And I'm being vulnerable to risk, to judgment. And like, this happened very recently for me, like, because it still happens. Of course, it still happens. So let me give you a little example of what I'm talking about here. I was asked to give a talk to a group of women, primarily to motivate them and inspire them to live authentically and be their best version of themselves. And that is literally my mission, to help women, give them the tools, the motivation, the support, and the connection to do just that. So why was I nervous? Well, I can tell you that. Did I worry about what I said and if it would resonate with them? Yes. Did I wonder if they could relate to what I was saying? And did I fear judgment? You're damn right I did. But I did it anyway. Did I have sweaty palms? Yes. But why? Well, it's because of my mission. Because I want to get more exposure and I want to be able to reach more women and get this messaging out to them. And this is one way that I can do that. I also know that the more I do this, the more I get outside my comfort zone, the more sweaty palms that I have, the less comfortable and fearful I will be in the future. So the only thing I do know what to do is to be me and my authentic me. And I talk about being my authentic me all the time. So sweaty palms, a few dodgy dance moves, my crazy talking hands. I talk with my hands all the time. You can't see it right now. Be grateful. And then an hour later, I was done. It went well. I got through it. I sighed relief. And I'm now ready for the next one. But being vulnerable and taking a risk to get my message out and reach more women, it's my why. And it is greater than my fear. I think we all need to get better at the art of being unapologetically you. You know, it's about owning your own story and embracing those quirks and living in the alignment with your own personal values and your own beliefs. Authenticity isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. And let me tell you, there's nothing more attractive than someone who just owns their truth. You know, you watch some people out there that just own it, and they have that confidence, and it's really impressive. I won't say I envy it so much, but I really like it, and I aspire to be just like that. I do want to say, though, that it is okay to be scared. It's okay to be nervous and even, doubt yourself for a little minute. But how do we overcome this? We need to cultivate this self-compassion and at times be patient during, any sort of a difficult time. Not for too long, though, because overcoming our barriers doesn't just happen overnight. We need to build up resilience, right? And this means actually being kind to ourselves too. We are the first to put ourselves down, and I don't know why. Why do we do this? I mean, I'm guilty here too, by the way. I can't deny that. And so I do get it. But why the devil are we doing this to ourselves? And, our words really, really matter. If your bestie was in this position of self-doubt or had a self-imposed barrier that was holding them back from, this big goal, this big dream, taking a first step outside the norm, what would you say to them? How would you help them? Because I can tell you 100% that I would absolutely be there for my friend. I would be pushing her up the hill and giving her the best and biggest support because I want her to grow. I want her to chase her dreams and I want her to try new things. I want her to be uncomfortable so that she knows it's okay and that she will get through it and that she can do it again. And I won't let her talk negatively to herself, most certainly not when I'm around and not to me. And I think we can all get a little bit better at being kinder and more supportive to ourselves. So if we're like that to our friends, we need to be the same to ourselves because we are capable. We can do this. Now that we're talking about it, there's a few ways to get better at it. And we do it a lot and we talk about it a lot too in the Sisterhood, quite often on our socials and also in our private groups on Facebook, which are free and you're welcome to join. But practicing things like mindfulness, Writing down 5 dreams every day, every morning. I'm pretty sure Mel Robbins says to do that, no matter how big or small your dream happens to be. Something we do, and that I get even my mastermind group to do sometimes, is to spend 2 minutes a day writing positive affirmations about yourself. Start off, it's hard, but it gets easier. You start off, it's quite simple words and sentences that you're saying, and then they become a little bit more sophisticated and complex, but beautiful. You can write down your daily gratitude messages. But all of these little things help put us in that positive mindset, just in general, but also towards ourselves, because we start seeing ourselves in this positive manner. We start seeing that we can do it. If you feel like you might be in this category of having these self-imposed barriers right now that are holding you back from being you and being more, try this. Step 1. Let's identify what the barrier is. What's holding you back? Is it fear? Or is it fear of failure? Is it fear of not being perfect or amazing at what you do? Is it self-doubt? Have a think about what that is. Acknowledge it. And then kick it to the curb. Don't lean into it. Let it go. Step 2. The next step for me would be set some goals. What do you want to achieve? Whether it's starting a new business, pursuing a passion project, moving house, finding, more joy and fulfillment in everyday life, connecting with more people. Write it down. And then what I would say as like a part B to that is why? Why do you want that goal? Because remember I said earlier, I believe your why needs to be bigger. Step 3, make a plan. If it's a big goal, you don't even need to have the whole plan. I just want to say that as well. You just sometimes need to take that first step, one actionable little step that moves you closer to that goal. What can you do today? What could you do tomorrow? And what can you do next week to move closer to that goal? Move closer towards your dreams. Get specific, get strategic, and get excited. Because if you write it down, and even if you can see it, like for me, it's on my whiteboard or on my cupboards. My cupboards are made of this glass, and I write everything on this glass, and I absolutely love it. And I look at it every day, so I know what's coming up. I know my plans and my strategies, they're all there. And then step 4, accountability. Share your goals and action steps with a friend, a family member, or even join our amazing Sisterhood Collective community. Because, when you're doing it with someone else or someone's holding you accountable, and they're going to hold you to celebrating the small wins and victories that you're making along the way. And when you make progress, it will motivate you to continue on the journey, to keep going. And then finally, don't forget to practice self-compassion along the way. It's something that we talk about doing like in the morning, so as part of your morning routine, but maybe it's something you just want to do once a week. Just remember that you're human though. You'll stumble, you'll face setbacks like we all do, but that's all part of the journey. But we have to be kind to ourselves. We've got to dust ourselves off and keep moving. Just keep moving forward. 1% better every day. So from here, if this is you and it feels like you, or this is something that you've faced before, have a think of those few action steps. If it's you right now, it's time for you to take the action. Break free from self-imposed barriers and step boldly into the next chapter of your life. Be brave. So I challenge you to this. What action will you take today to move closer to your dreams? What self-compassionate step could you do to break free from fear, from perfectionism, from self-doubt? Whatever it is, though, just know that you're not alone. We're all going to be doing this, even me. So I'm going to leave you with this. You are worthy, you are capable, and you are enough. Just be your authentic self. Move forward, be confident, and believe in you as I do. Thank you for joining us on the Sisterhood Collective podcast. Remember to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. And if you want to be the first to hear what is new at Sisterhood Collective, you can find out more on our Instagram, or you can sign up to receive our weekly newsletter and let the good times continue to roll. Now it's time to turn your clear vision into bold action. I'm Laurie Drummond, your host, and until next time, keep striving to live that best life. Take care, and we'll see you soon.